Hey, Ethan. Good morning. Welcome to Performance Seminar. Okay, so just a couple things. Make sure that your original audio is on, and then we'll just hear you play, and then we'll maybe try some things with it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, can you tell us what you'll be playing for us this morning?
I will be playing Minuet by Leopold Mozart.
All right. Whenever you're ready. All right. Nice job, Ethan. Okay. So, what did you feel like went well in that performance?
Definitely the first line and the third line. I felt they were much stronger than usual.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, no. I thought that sounded really, overall was pretty confident. So why do you think you felt more comfortable with the first line of each section?
That's the one I probably practiced the most because
Hmm.
it's the first line of each section.
Yeah, so when you go, that's a good thing to think about, right? So when you go to run through each section, right? Remember, that's always the first thing you play. So
Hmm.
notice, right? You're probably really feeling good about, right? So that's really a familiar place. So I mean, nothing wrong with that. But that's something, right? Something to remember when you go to practice, even when even when you know the whole piece and you're getting ready for a performance, right?
Yeah.
So what might be what might be good to do when you're
Backward
practicing?
practice.
There you go. Right. Um, so I mean, but even that, right? If we practice, let's think about the first section. Yada da da da. So that is important, right? When you're thinking about performance, um, is even any kind of thing where you're performing, right? Remember that it's very common to have something be a little off in the performance. That's fine. I mean, it happens to everyone, even professionals. So one of the differences, right, is when you perform, you want to make sure that certain points are feel really secure, right? So the beginning and the ending, right, should be really, really, really secure. So and even like I said, even professional people, mess up during a performance, right? Um, so and this is good, right? So this is why we do performance seminars, so you can practice, right? It's good to practice performing because it feels right, it feels different. Maybe you get your nerves going, right? So there's some things you can think about. Um, it's hard to create that when you're just practicing, right? Um, so one thing you'll learn though is that ideally, yeah, sure, you want to practice a lot and really securely so that when you play, you feel like everything is working really well. However, like I said, so another fact of life about performance is sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you have like an error. Um, Now, the performance skill that you need to work on too is not just not having anything ever go wrong. It's that if you get off a little bit, practice bringing it back around, right? And keep going. So that is almost more important of a skill for performance than just getting everything right, right? So that brings me back around to which two parts of each section do you want to know really well? Is the opening, because that's the first thing people are going to hear, but then the ending of the section is also something you want to really drill, so that even if something gets derailed in the middle, right, you can bring it back and play the end really confidently. That makes sense? Right. So people, and this is about the audience, right? So people remember the first thing in the piece, and then people remember how the piece ends, right? So you can salvage a lot of mistakes, right, by getting the ending really nice and strong. Okay, so but I mean, all that said, that was a great sounded pretty secure and confident. So what was something about this piece that was really difficult as you were learning this?
Definitely the separation of the staccato notes and the quarter and the staccato quarter notes and the eighth.
Hmm. Oh, so like remembering when to bring in the staccato articulation versus the legato. Ah, okay. Well, can we take just a second to work on that? Let
Sure.
me so let's and this is, the articulation is a little tricky because you're notice we're kind of having an overlap between legato notes and then staccato notes. So it's happening right close together. Um hmm. Um can we try let's focus, given what we just talked about. Let's not use the beginning as an example. Let's use this chunk. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So would this be like somewhere you're talking about? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try. Can you just try your left hand alone? Because that's all staccato notes.
Okay, got it. Wait a minute.
Good. Okay. So when you think about playing staccato, what is it that you want to do to get us? So what does it mean to play a staccato note?
Uh, Short and fast, but but there has to be a silence for the duration of the rest of the note.
Yeah, sort of. So that's good. So what is useful to remember, I think, is that staccato really just means separated, right? So that instead of playing, right, we'll play, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to sound sharp. It just has to sound like there's some space between each of these notes.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense? So one way you could do that is by, right, we could put the dot, right? We could actually just notate it like this. Do you see what I'm doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm just making, this is one way that you could notate something to sound staccato, is you could just, right, we could say, oh, it's each of these is an eighth note, and you've got an eighth rest. I'm gonna turn it down, okay? Each of these is an eighth note with an eighth rest in between, so we have a little gap of sound. Could you try to play this with your left hand one more time as if it's notated like that?
Sure.
Yeah, that was better, right? So did you hear the difference there? I think right, it felt like little touches with a lift in between, right? So there was a space of silence. Now, the takeaway from that, right, is so remember when you play staccato, it's not necessarily about the attack on the note. It's about what happens after you play the note. Does that make sense? So
Okay.
the really important way to get staccato, right? Staccato just means you want the notes to sound separated by silence, right? Is it's about getting your finger off the key so it stops sounding, right? That's the main thing to get a staccato sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a
And this
lot
is
of
the thing, right? So I think sometimes we get caught up thinking the staccato is like a, a pointy sound. And so we get into this where we come in really fast too, right? Where to take your finger off, you think you're going to come in really fast, right? And that can happen sometimes. Um, the issue is that when there's sometimes you play staccato at a soft dynamic, right? So you can't be coming in really fast to play the right because it'll be really loud and sharp, right? So you can have staccatos that are kind of soft and fuzzy sounding. So let's work on, can you work on your right hand? And this is the last thing we're going to try. So
okay.
when you have something like this, right, where we have a legato connection between these notes, and then the last one ends in a staccato, that doesn't mean you're going to play legato and then come in to this last note really sharp. It means you're going to play them like they're legato. And just that final note, when you reach it, you're going to lift your hand off. So there's a space after it. So can you try that for me? Yeah, right. So did you feel the difference there?
Yeah.
So one thing, so especially when you have this situation, which happens fairly often, you have a couple legato notes that end in a staccato note. What you want to think about doing is sinking your hand into the beginning of the slur, and then when you play the staccato note, lifting, right? So you're doing like a sinking and lifting motion. Da da da. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So do it. Can you try? It was better before. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was really good. Did you feel how that felt in
Hmm.
your hand? I mean, I can't see your hand, but that sounded, I can tell by the sound that was a good sinking and lifting motion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so doing that, it kind of helps guide your hand towards the thing you need to do, which is kind of sync and connect the legato notes, but then lift after the final note, right? So that sort of the dipping your hand and then lifting after the final note really helps emphasize the difference in those articulations. Okay. So we'll continue to work on that with other pieces. I'm sure that'll show up again. All right. So thanks for coming. I know you probably have to go, Ethan. So great job this morning. I'll see you next time you play. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Bye.